Hello everybody, this is the Vikstrand and today we're going to talk about 2020. 2020 has not been a great year for movies. No, according to a kind of a weird index thing I have, 2020 is the worst movie year of all time since 1969, and that is only because I didn't watch too many movies that was made in 1969. With that said, 2020 didn't look that good either when things started. When I did my video in Vilnius at the end of the year, which seems like, damn, it feels like it was, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I argued that 2020 looked to be a bleak year. It was a thin year. In fact, looking back at it, it was so thin that it would have to run around in a shower to be able to get wet. It could use a Cheerio as a hula hoop, basically. That's how thin it was on big releases. And since March, a lot of movies have been postponed to 2021, which I'm going to make a video about in the next coming days or so. This is, happening right around when I'm doing all of my Italy 2020 edition videos. So it's going to be a little bit weird, having all this snow stuff with the super warm and super cozy Italian videos that I'm currently making. But I was actually considering not doing this video, mainly because, well, it's fucking embarrassing considering, well, out of the 15 videos I presented on that fateful night in Vilnius, a lot of movies have been postponed. The Hitman's Bodyguard's Wife, out. Without Remorse, out. The Fast and the Furious 9, out. Infinity, out. Wonder Woman 1984, out. It has come out apparently in the United States, but not in Sweden as of right now, so it's still out. A Quiet Place 2, out. Godzilla vs. Kong, out. No Time to Die, out. The Kingsman, out. Fun fact, this is actually the third time I think that this movie has been postponed for a year. It was originally going to be coming out 2019, then it was going to come out 2020. Now I guess it's going to be coming out 2021. Jesus Christ, and June, out. Which leaves us with precious few movies to actually contemplate over of 2020. So, well, let's do my very, very short list of movies I thought in the beginning of the year was going to be the 15 best movies that was going to be released in the year 2020, shall we? Well, this is Prediction 2020, the results. They're very grim results. Number 11, Bloodshot. The result? Okay! Do you want to see Vin Diesel beat people to death for 109 minutes? If you do, then Bloodshot will be right up your alley. I was initially very, very pumped for this movie, but when I found out it was going to be a PG-13 movie, I was on, this is not going to be a very good, is it? But when it came out, I found it to be quite fun and quite entertaining and surprisingly suspenseful and actually kind of ingenious. It wasn't a fantastic movie, but considering how little movies that did come out this year, it was kind of, well, I'm kind of impressed by it. Number 8, Birds of Prey. Result, failure. Oh my, how this movie wanted to be the new Deadpool. Oh, how this movie wanted to be a new Kick-Ass. And my god, this movie was just going to be so damn great. I mean, you had Harley Quinn and some other characters that I am not too sure that I know anything about, because I'm not a comic book guy. I'm just a guy who really like movies, and I like comic book movies. And Harley Quinn was the best thing about the Suicide Squad, so make a movie about her, print money and all that stuff. However, It wasn't a bad movie. I think it was a pretty good movie. Ewan McGregor was a pretty fun villain, but the movie couldn't decide on whether being very grim and horrible and delightful and you know, fun. The idea of making this movie into this colorful, playful, rambunctious shenanigans movie was a fun idea, but I just annoyed myself on a lot of things, and it never materialized as a really good movie. I still think this movie is better than Justice League and the Suicide Squad, but it doesn't say that much actually. It's there. I thought it was kind of fun. I thought it was pretty entertaining, but in the end, what it should have been and what it could have been was something else than what it actually was in the end of the day. And I think Birds of Prey was a totally fine movie that was just not as good as it was, you know, painted out to be. Number 7, gentlemen, Success. Jesus Christ, this movie was fucking great. On the surface, it is a pretty mundane gangster movie. On the surface, it is, you know, not that big of a deal. But the thing is that it was such well crafted. It was so well casted. And it was so well made. And it just was Guy Ritchie's. And this is the best crime comedy that Guy Ritchie has ever done. And it was a perfect blend of grim and humor. And Hugh Grant has made his absolutely best performance of all time. And also, one thing that I constantly find about the movies that I see in this genre is they always start off very strong. You know, they start off, you know, with lots of exposition, lots of voiceover, and lots of, you know, flashy stuff. But then they quiet down and becomes just a regular movie after about 25 minutes. This movie doesn't. This movie keeps on going in the same vein for the entirety of the entire movie, and I love that. I think The Gentleman is the best movie that Guy Ritchie has ever made. It was an absolutely super surprise movie, and it was the last movie I saw before the pandemic struck and made everybody's life a little bit sad. And if you haven't seen The Gentleman, Matthew McConaughey is great. Hugh Grant is fantastic, and Charlie Hunnam, he's kind of amazing in this one. And Colin Farrell is pretty good too. But this crime thriller comedy is exactly what this type of movie is supposed to be. It is entertaining and it's really funny. And it is really tense. Number 3, 1917. Result, failure. People went nuts for 1917 when it came, and I was sitting there and being mega hyped. The movie came and I was like, whoa, this is so great. But I have wanted to see a big World War I movie for ages, and it finally came, and it sort of was there, but not really. I think it is technically speaking, a fantastic movie, if a little gimmicky. But the fact is, we don't get the big battle sequences, we don't get the big scope of World War I. We're just getting a very personal story about what thing is, and the you know, one take thing is fun and it is really awesome. But at the same time, it's nullified in the end, and it's kind of, I don't really care about it as much as I should have, and I just hope that it would have been something else than what it would have been. It is a very impressive movie to look at, and it's really intense, and Sam Mendes is a really great director. And I'm not saying that this movie is bad. I'm saying that this movie is really good, but considering that I thought that this was going to be the 3rd best movie released in 2020, this is technically a 2019 movie, so it will not impact the 2020 list, by the way. But I thought the acting was great, and I thought that everything around it was subliminally good, but it was just a movie that was kind of there. And but the success of it makes me hopeful that in the future we might have more movies, you know, about World War One. Maybe we can have a movie about Passchendaele. Maybe we could have a movie about, you know, the Red Baron, or, you know, something like that. But for now, we're just gonna have to settle with this one, which is a good movie, if not perfect. Number 1, Tenet. Result, okay. When Christopher Nolan is releasing a new movie, that is a big thing. I was sitting there, actually I was sitting there in the movie theater, and I was just we're actually going to see an actual new Christopher Nolan movie with a new original screenplay. This is going to be great. This is going to knock the socks off every other movie released 2020. That's what I thought. It is the best movie of 2020, but that's basically by default. For instance, if this movie would have been released 2019, it would have barely scratched the top 10 movies of 2019, which was a great year for movies. But not even with this little competition, it was still just a movie that was better than everybody else, but just barely. Tenet is not a bad film at all. It is not at all. It is such an interesting, it's such an intricate, it's such a unique, fascinating story, and it just has so much attention to details, and it's such a grand scope, spectacular, and visual storytelling is absolutely off the charts. But whenever I see what's coming up, I can sort of see, well, that thing is going to happen, then that thing is going to happen, then that thing's going to happen. If I say it, then the movie has problems. Then it hasn't been able to hide its own smartness good enough. Because if I can see that a swerve is coming, and the swerve is actually coming, then that means that this movie is not doing something correctly. It's a bit of a shame, mainly because we have just too few characters in this movie. I would have wanted this movie to have a bigger gallery of characters. If that would have been the case, then we probably would have talked about one of Nolan's greatest movies of all time. But now it has to settle for a middle-of-the-road Nolan movie, which is still better than most movies that has ever come out ever. Tenet is a great film, Tenet is an interesting film, and Tenet has moments of absolute brilliance, but not as good as I would have hoped it would have been. So in a few days I'll be seeing you again when I'll be posting my video for highest anticipated movies of 2021, which technically should be a great video considering how many movies that has been bumped from 2020 to 2021, but considering how bleak of a year 2021 was looking at a year ago, it's still just bumping it up just a little bit. Hopefully it will still be a better year in 2020, because every year should be better than 2020. I'll see you next time from Well So-and-so reviewing Well Such and Such. Thank you for watching, thank you very much, and we'll go back to Italy now for just the briefest moment of time.